Hi everybody, my name's Chelsea, aka Sunsprin. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking some more about Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. Lots of things have been happening in the past week or so. We got the new trailer, the teaser, which really doesn't have that much in it other than here's some dwarves, here's some elves, here's some men, here's some Miriel for you to look at. But anyway, we're not going to talk as much about the trailer today. Might reference it a little bit, but we're going to go through some of these news articles. And I just wanted to compare and contrast a little bit with HBO's House of the Dragon. So we're going to compare Prime's Rings of Power and HBO's House of the Dragon a little bit in terms of what is being said, what's being put out there about each. All right, let's see. We're going to start over here. Granted, I am cherry picking, right? I'm cherry picking articles, but this really struck me. There's like a comparison here. Striking, right? This is from IndieWire. Rings of Power showrunners weren't interested in Lord of the Rings prequel. We craved a, quote, blank canvas. Because when I want a blank canvas, I don't know about you, I look to a work that is, you know, nearly 100 years old. I look to something that has been written about over and over and over and over and over again. Something with existing movies already made, tons of canon written by the author himself. That is what I think a blank canvas means. But okay. Whew. Co-creators J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay crafted the epic Prime Video series as stewards of J.R.R. Tolkien's source material. Get it? Stewards. Yeah. Okay. We were not interested. I'm skipping ahead here. All right. We were not interested in doing a show about the younger version of the same world you knew, where it's a little bit of a prequel, McKay told Entertainment Weekly. We wanted to go way, way, way back, find a story that could exist on its own 2 feet. This was one we felt hadn't been told on the level and the scale and with the depth that we felt it deserved. Co-showrunner Payne added, it was one place that we were just laser focused on saying, we need to get this right. It's never been seen before. Numenor was in some ways a blank canvas. Now that I can understand. Yeah, a little bit. It was like Tolkien put some stars in the sky and let us make out the constellations. We're doing what Tolkien wanted. As long as we felt like every invention of ours was true to his essence, we knew we were on the right track. The pressure would drive us insane if we didn't feel like there was a story here that didn't come from us. It comes from a bigger place, McKay said. We trust these ideas so deeply because they're not ours. We're custodians at best. Okay, fair enough. That's how they feel. All right, we're just going to go away from IndieWire for a second. I want to compare that with what HBO, this article about House of the Dragon over on Gizmodo. Let's look here. Okay. How HBO Max's House of the Dragon aims to honor Game of Thrones lore. I think I'm in good hands, assures A Song of Ice and Fire author George R.R. Martin in a new featurette. Okay, I'm scrolling down a little bit here. Okay. Based on Martin's Fire and Blood series, which tells the story of House Targaryen 200 years before the events of Game of Thrones, the new show has a trove of lore to dig into under the writer's guidance. Quote, I'm excited. It's always a little apprehensive when you turn your baby over to foster parents, but I'm involved in this, Martin shared while hyping up the new team. quote, "It's great to have Ryan, who's a great writer and someone who really knew my world. He's going to do his best to remain faithful to it. I knew Miguel Sapochnik was an amazing director. He'd won an Emmy and done some of our best episodes. There's always a little suspense to how good is it going to be, but I think I'm in good hands with Ryan and Miguel." Okay. Very realistic, right? Realistic expectations. We're not on the moon yet, right? We've just started. No one has seen anything from this yet. So they're not trying to downplay expectations, but they're trying to manage, what's a realistic feeling should be when you haven't seen any episodes yet. All right, I'm going to keep going. I'm skipping a little bit ahead. Okay. Executive producer and director Miguel Sapochnik elaborated, "The idea of going back to Westeros was almost too much of a challenge. You have to start by respecting it. You can't start by doing different for different's sake. Realizing what worked in Thrones and what didn't. What do we want to better? How do we want to evolve?" That, ladies and gentlemen, is smart. It's intelligent. It's managing expectations in a way that doesn't set people up for failure, but also doesn't set them up for like, this is gonna be the best thing ever. I mean, it makes sense. It's common sense, right? You're talking to people who are fans and respecting their common sense, their real feelings about things. Yeah, we understand you're a little worried. We were a little worried coming off Thrones, but we are trying to make this really good and see what we can improve upon. I'd say that's it's just a much better presentation of ideas than this over here with we're the stewards, and the pressure would drive us insane if we didn't feel like this came from a bigger place than we do. I don't know. And I know it's all in the marketing, right? House of the Dragon could be full of crap. All those people could be just telling us BS. They probably are. That's what marketing is all about, really, right? But it just seems like that's a better way to go about this. I think House of the Dragon is going to win in terms of appeal, despite the fact that Thrones crashed and burned at the end the way it did. I think people, anyone who's willing to give something another shot is probably going to try it and just see if it's any good. Anyway, we're going to switch now to Entertainment Weekly and look at their information here. I know this is text heavy, not visual heavy. I apologize for that. But there is a point, there is a point to all this. This is an Entertainment Weekly article about how things look in Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, the production design. It talks about, okay, with the dwarves, they're going to go back to stone and flame and all of that. There's sensitivity toward the stone. They're more sensible. There's a sensitivity towards stone rather than forcing their will on the stone, which is an interesting concept. I like the direction that's headed, but then you look here at Durin the Fourth, and you wonder why there are toes, like very clear outlines of toes on these boots. What does that have to do with anything? If you know what that has to do with anything, please let me know. I'm confused, admittedly. That doesn't seem like sensitivity to anything. That just seems like a weird design choice that they randomly picked out for dwarves. And particularly as this almost looks silver. Anyway, a mithril maybe? Who knows? Okay. Getting away from that. The Harfoots have a distinct look. They're years away from settling in the Shire. Okay, here's one for you. Here's a good one, right? He notes similarities throughout, like how the Harfoot's large circular wagon wheels echo those iconic round hobbit doors. What other shape of wheel were you ever going to use? Were you going to use a rectangular shape if it was like a Gondorian door, a Numenorean door? Would we have had square wheels to match? Oh God. I mean, some of this, it's just it's patently ridiculous. It's silly. And they think we're gonna buy this because it sounds nice. Oh, cool. There's an echo of Hobbit doors in the wheels. How stupid do they think we are? Um, and it may be a great story, right? It may be a wonderful telling of events in the Second Age that's different but still stands on its own. It could be great. However, confidence is low, 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 low. You know what I mean? Here's another quote. It's this powerful country that has this great strength in sailing, Numenor, if you haven't figured that out, and great value in the water. So that's why blue is everywhere. He adds, we've got a zillion different shades of blue. It's very profound. I don't know that anyone else has ever thought of that. Congratulations, production design team. Blue, big, big stuff right there. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight some things. I guess it's not fair for me to short shrift House of the Dragon. Maybe I can find one more article about House of the Dragon that illustrates the point. But you can damn sure bet they're not on here talking about colors and shapes as though their fan base were total idiots, like 5-year-olds. I can guarantee you Game of Thrones isn't going to do that. Let's see about Insider real quick. That's details you may have missed. Never mind. Let me back out of that real quick. Let's see. House of the Dragon Star. Okay. Toussaint. Okay. I will be doing a video on the trailer for House of the Dragon, and I'll start doing videos for House of the Dragon as it gets closer. So excited. Let's see, multiple time jumps, how this became the first prequel. Let's see. Yeah, sure. We'll do the different time jumps. We're getting way more information about House of the Dragon than we are about Rings of Power. Just everything, right? Like straight off the bat here, they're telling us, hey, there's gonna be lots of time jumps. Okay, cool. This is how you tell the story correctly, said Condell. We're telling the story of a generational war. We set everything up so by the time the first sword stroke falls, you understand all the players. Smart, smart, smart. It's not just smart marketing, it's a smart strategy that people who are watching TV on a habitual basis, who are fans of fantasy, will respect. We look at that and we go, oh, they actually have a plan, a strategy for how they're going to tell this story. Meanwhile, Rings of Power, all they've really told us is that we're going to compress like 3,000 years of history into like 50 episodes. And it's going to be great because we know where the last scene is going to be. No issues with compressing 2,000 or 3,000 years of Middle-earth's history. In fact, they're avoiding talking about that as much as possible. All right, going on with some more of this. Okay. It made me nervous, said HBO Chief Content Officer Casey Bloys. It's hard enough to cast any role, but if you're casting 2 characters at different ages, you have to be right 4 times. Now that I've seen the result, I feel really good about it. That's really exciting. Let's see, scrolling back up here a little bit. Oh, right, it explains that it has its female leads as teenagers when the story begins, but then it halfway through the season, it time jumps forward. right? Allowing Olivia Cooke and Emma Darcy to take over the rules from Emily Carey and Millie Alcock. Anyway, it's an intelligent, it seems like intelligence is behind the design, at least the intentions make sense. And then when you compare that to Rings of Power, unfortunately, the intentions don't seem to make sense. I mean, they flat out tell us that these directors have almost no experience with something this as epic and as important as The Lord of the Rings. That's all I got for you today. It's just common sense. What can I say? Just dropping the common sense bombs today. It wasn't very flashy. There weren't a lot of pictures, but we all know, I think, what's about to happen, and there's no sense in sugarcoating it for you. For any of us, I will try to maintain some measure of positivity and have a good laugh moving forward. Measuring expectations, I just hope that the first stage stuff that we see is really, really good. Everything else, we'll just wait and see which moments are worth it and which moments are just garbage. Talk to y'all later. See you in another video. Bye. Thanks for sticking with me.